Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to discuss Jan 22nd Shift 1 chapter level analysis. So let us first start with physics. Right, so this is the data of 23 questions which I have received from my students. So from units and dimension, there was a question where we have to find the dimension of a physical quantity, one question. And from kinematics, there was a question from projectile motion. And from circular motion, there was a question based on vertical circle, where we have given velocity at the bottommost point and we have to find the tension or the velocity at certain some other point. And there was a question on moment of inertia from rotation, and there were two questions from gravitation, and there was a question from excess pressure where we have two bubbles joined together and we have to find the radius of curvature of the common surface. So one question was from that topic. And there was a question from organ pipe, and there was one question from latent heat from calorimetry, and there was a one question from first law of thermodynamics, and there were four questions in electrostatics. There were around two questions from capacitors and one from Gauss's law, right? And there was a question based on the motion of an electron between the plates of a capacitor. And there were two questions in current electricity. One is from rheostat and the other question was from like temperature dependence of resistivity. And in magnetism there was a question from Ampere's-Zuckertal law. From ray optics there were two questions based on Lensmaker's formula, or one was from Lensmaker's formula, and the other case we have given a lens which is coupled with a spherical mirror, and then we have to find the equivalent focal length. And in wave optics there was a question based on YDSE. And in modern physics one question came from atom, which is from where we have to find the radius of the orbit of electron, and there was a question based on photoelectric effect. And from semiconductor there was a question from diodes. Overall the difficulty is from easy to moderate, and it is more or less similar to last year's pattern. Now this is a data of 14 questions which I have received in mathematics. So there was a question in sequence and series, and it is from the general term of GP. And there was a question in PNC, and there were two questions. One is based on Bayes theorem and the other is based on standard deviation in probability. And in matrices there is a question based on adjoint of matrix. And in complex number there was one question. And in sets and relation there was one question, and in function there was a question based on functional equation. And in limit there was one question, and in definite integrals there was one question which is based on the properties of definite integration. And so in case of area, there was a question based on to find the area between the circle and the parabola. There was a question based on LD in differential equation, one question. And there was one question based on centers of triangles, right, in case of straight line. And there was a question from hyperbola, and it is based on lattice rectum. And there was a question from shortest distance formula in 3D. Overall the difficulty is moderate, and usually the length, it is not that lengthy as it was in 2024. Now this is the analysis of chemistry. So this is the data of 25 questions which were asked in the paper. So from mole concept there was a question from stoichiometry, and from structure of atom there were three questions, one from Bohr's model, and then de Broglie's wavelength, and photoelectric effect. And in equilibrium there was a question based on equilibrium constant. And in solutions there was a question from azeotropic mixtures. And in electrochemistry there were two questions, one from electrolysis and another from the Faraday's law. And from isomerism there was a question on stereoisomerism. And in hydrocarbon there was question based on the physical properties. And in haloalkanes and halorine there were one question based on SN1 and SN2 reaction. And in alcohol, phenol and ether there was a question based on the chemical reaction. And in aldehyde, ketones and carboxylic acid there was two questions, one was based on nomenclature and the other was on Felling's test. And in amines there was one question based on chemical reaction, and from biomolecules there was a question based on vitamins. Apart from this there were three questions from periodic table. So electronegativity, atomic and ionic sizes based on periodicity, right? And there were one question from Vesper theory in chemical bonding, And from DNF block, there were 2 questions based on configuration, and in coordination compound, there were 2 questions based on VBT and CFT. And in qualitative and quantitative analysis, there was 1 question based on Carius method. Right, so again, the difficulty is more or less similar to last year's JEE Mains paper. So this shift is from easy to moderate, and you can expect 99 percentile with 215 marks. Right, so see you in the next video where I'll do another paper analysis.